back to the whole podcast, Casey. I'm your host, Kirby Huff. And today we have Rachel Watts, an adaptive athlete. So let's welcome her to our show. And why don't you give us a brief overview of your what sporting events that you partake in?
Awesome. Thank you so much for letting me be here. So, I am a para triathlete. I compete with Team USA at this point, or to represent the USA in their elite international competitions with World Triathlon. And then the other thing that I do that I love doing is I do running events as well.
Okay, awesome. And so let's kind of dive into your diagnosis in 2018.
Yeah. So in December of 2018, I was totally unexpectedly diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. It was a really big shock. I woke up one morning and nothing was working right neurologically on the right side of my body, my speech, my cognition. A lot of things were affected. And I was afraid I was having a stroke. And it turned out that I instead had multiple areas of demyelination occurring in my brain that I had no clue could be going on.
Wow. So then, what took place after that? Did you have to do some therapy or
Um,
I mean, sure there was lots of doctor's appointments.
yeah, so it was kind of a big change in life. I
Sure.
was in the hospital for I think 5 days, and I saw like physical therapy and occupational therapy in the hospital, and then I received high dose steroids while I was there to control that. It's considered a relapse, an MS relapse is the term that's used and it calmed that inflammation down. And then afterwards, it was outpatient physical therapy. And every time, so over the course of the next year, I would have another MS relapse about once every 2 to 3 months. And so it would be a break from work during the actual relapse, as well as physical therapy afterwards that went on until I got the condition under control.
Okay. And now have there been any more relapses since then, or has it pretty much been controlled?
I've been really fortunate. In January of 2020, I underwent a treatment called a hematopoietic stem cell transplant. HSCT is like the short way to say it.
Okay.
And it was basically high dose chemotherapy was used to eradicate my immune system that like to go after the myelin sheath of my nerves and my central nervous system. And then a new a new immune system was started with a transplant of the stem cells from my bone marrow.
Okay. Wow, very cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what got you interested in adaptive sports?
At the time of diagnosis, I was training for the Rock and Roll Las Vegas Marathon back whenever it used to be a full length marathon. And I had told the doctors in the hospital, like, hey, I need to get better quick because this is what I'm doing. And they kind of told me, like, you should prepare for a future with a lot less endurance events. And I was like, no, I don't agree to this plan. So it really just became a game of like, how can I keep doing what I love to do?
And what was the plan for that then? Like, how are you able to maintain to do that still?
So my abilities have definitely changed since I was initially diagnosed in 2018. So now I use adaptive equipment to help me compete. Like currently, I'm wearing bilateral AFOs, ankle foot orthotic devices that help with the foot drop and then just like the gait imbalance that I have in my, especially it's really bad in my right side and then a little bit there in my left side. I use adaptive upper body like braces to help with my right arm, right shoulder, right trunk issues. I wear prism lenses in my glasses that help me with my balance and like visual perception issues.
Wow, I
So
had no
it's,
idea any of this existed. This is
yeah,
so cool to learn
I,
about.
I did not know any of this existed whenever I got into it. And for the first few years, I really hurt my body trying to force it to do movements that weren't
Sure.
biomechanically safe for it to do because
Right.
nobody was giving me options. And I was like, hey, I'm not going to stop.
Right. I
Um,
understand that mindset.
yeah, yes. And then I was really fortunate to get hooked up with an adaptive triathlon nonprofit out of Chicago called Dare to Try. And that was where I was able to meet other athletes who were like, "No, no, no. Hey, there's equipment that can help." And then I was able to meet professionals that were like, "Hey, I actually make this equipment." And
That's
so
amazing.
I found out about like options that were out there. And now I utilize Hanger Clinic in Overland Park, Kansas to get the gear that I need to keep moving.
Okay, wonderful. Explain these glasses again, or the
So
lenses?
it's just like I have visual disturbance in my eyes. And so it's just like a prism that refracts the light differently. So it helps me not have my double vision issues that I have as
Wow,
much.
that's amazing. That's so
Yeah.
cool. So are you able to run the same distances as you were prior to being diagnosed?
I am. In October of I didn't think I would be able to at first. That's actually why I started triathlon. Um, well, besides just the goal, but like why I started to really focus on it was because my joints couldn't handle long distance running after I had underwent HSCT. But in October of 2023, I completed the Chicago Marathon and I actually qualified for Boston with my time with it as well. So
Wow, that's
this year I'm going to
amazing.
try to get into Boston for Boston 25.
That's so cool. So, are there any other challenges that you deal with on a daily basis? Or does it just kinda depend?
So there is a lot of fluctuation and lifestyle plays a lot into how much the challenge that I have. Like stress is really challenging for persons with multiple sclerosis, or it can be really challenging for persons with multiple sclerosis. So if I'm having a stretch of days where I'm really busy, I'm not sleeping well, I'm not taking care of my body, and I'm under a lot of stress, my symptoms tend to be more exacerbated. But I do deal with at baseline every day, the right side of my body's got a high amount of tone to the muscle, hypertonia, and then also spasticity and spasms. So, like every morning I wake up and I've got to move it gently to get it to, like, work in a more balanced manner with my left side. My balance is always a little bit off. Wearing my AFOs helps immensely. My energy levels, like, I don't know if you're familiar with, like, the spoons, um,
No, please tell us.
talking about your spoons. Like as far as energy, so we have so many spoons in a day that we get to use energy wise to allocate to all of the activities we do in a day. And I used to always take on as much as I could in a day, but now I know, hey, if I want to train for triathlon, if I want to be successful at work, if I want to be the mom that I want to show up for my kids to be, I've got to be mindful of how many spoons I have today. And that's dynamic. It's based on how well I slept the day before, what my last few days were like. And whenever I'm out of those spoons, like I just shut down. Like there's not any keeping me going with extra caffeine or anything. I'm done.
So, at that point, you just have to just rest?
Yep.
Well, I mean, you gotta listen to your body, right?
Yeah.
And gotta take care of yourself.
It's definitely become like MS, is weird as it sounds, is the gift I never would have wanted to have, never would have asked for,
Right.
because it has increased the communication, like, awareness between my body and my mind so much. I used to just, forge through and kind of live that, like, busy go, go, go life that a lot of us, um that our society kind of promotes. And now it's like, oh no, your body's telling you based on the communication of this pain or this fatigue or difficulty with cognition or visual changes or whatever's going on. That's my body instead telling me, hey, it's time to slow down. It's time to check in. There's something off balance right now. How do we get back in balance?
Right. And just rest.
Yep,
That's great. Well, it's great that I mean, I'm sure it's been such a learning process and you just really have to listen to your body.
absolutely.
So what does your training day look like?
So
Or
I
like a week, I guess I should say, because I'm sure it's
Yeah,
different.
it does vary with triathlon being swimming, biking, and running. I don't do all three of them every single day. And so it's like kind of keeping it balanced throughout the week. I do have a coach that uploads a training plan for me every week. So today I've got like a little over an hour of swimming that I'll do in addition to yoga and just like stretching and core strengthening. Um, on bike days, usually I'm on my bike trainer for about an hour, sometimes with a short run after the bike. It's called a brick workout where you'll run for like a mile or something like that. And then running days, it's often easy mile warm up followed by like sprint intervals and then a few more miles of running and another mile cool down.
Wow. That seems intense.
It's fun.
Yeah, yeah. And so what do you ever have any symptoms that might occur during training, and what does that look like if so?
So probably the biggest challenge that I have is if my tone is really, really tight, really high, I have a lot of difficulty swimming, especially. And it's a balancing game between do I need to work my muscles or am I risking training my muscles to work in a more improper way that's going to like negatively affect me down the road? So there's some days whenever I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go have this great training session. And then after the first 10 minutes, I'm like, wait, my body's not working like it needs to work for this to be safe. And so then it's okay, well, what can I do instead that's going to help support it? And so it might mean that I get out and I get on the foam roller and I start doing like stretching and strengthening and lengthening exercises instead of like the actual training session.
Okay. Awesome. I am obsessed with foam rolling. I
Ah, it's so
constantly telling everybody about it, and everyone's like, "It hurts so bad." I'm like, "It hurts
hurts so
so good."
good.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
Yep.
And you feel so much better. I've got bad knees, and so I
Mhm.
roll out my IT bands constantly, and they feel great after I do it.
Absolutely. And it's that, like, if you can get through that initial hump of discomfort, whenever your mind's telling you, oh, this is going to hurt, I don't want to do it. But if you can persist through it and then check in with yourself again on the other side, like, wait, does this still feel bad? Or am I at the point where now I've gotten past that
Right,
discomfort of
right.
starting and instead it feels good?
I've never understood mind over matter so much
Absolutely.
when working out and training and whatnot. So when was your first triathlon?
So the first triathlon I did was July of 2021. I did the Win for Casey triathlon, women's triathlon. That unfortunately they no longer host that event, but it was at Smithville Lake.
Oh, okay.
Really, really cool event.
We have,
Terrifying.
an event there at Smithville Lake this Friday.
Oh,
It's for spinal cord injury folks, and, they're doing, like, essentially kinda like wakeboarding where they sit on a
hmm,
board and then are pulled behind the boat. It's really cool.
oh, that is awesome.
If you get a chance, you should stop by. I don't know if
I'm
you
off on Friday, so
see.
and I'm heading this way, so I just might do that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll give you the info afterwards.
That sounds amazing.
Um, so how many triathlons now have you done?
Oh, that's a good question. Um, Greater than 20, I
Wow,
would say.
that's
Yeah. I
amazing.
mean, I just got off a month stretch of competing every weekend in a row for 4 weeks. So, like, they're starting to add up. Just, this year in 2024, I've done 1, 2, 7 so far, and then I'll do the Shawnee Mission Triathlon this coming Sunday as well.
So after a competition, like, does that take a real toll on your body, and do you have to rest longer before training for the next one, or you just kinda push through?
Ideally, there's more rest in between races. I had a really cool opportunity this year to make an effort at qualifying for the 2024 Paris Paralympic Paratriathlon team for Team USA. So I did something that wouldn't be recommended, and that I competed 4 races in a row in Italy, France, Wales, and, Canada to see if I could get enough points. I ended up being 6th on the list of top 5, unfortunately,
Oh,
but it was worth it all, but
of
I
course.
definitely felt the fatigue and exhaustion, like, I'm still feeling it big time from that amount of back to back to back to back racing.
Sure.
But, yeah, the sprint distance, thankfully, like, if I was doing a longer distance, like the, 70.3-mile triathlons or something like that, I couldn't do it every week in a row, but with it being the sprint distance of 750 meters of swimming, 20 kilometers, which is about just under 13 miles of riding the bike, and then a 5K run, which is 3.1 miles, that's something that I can push through, just pay for it afterwards.
Sure. So what does your recovery time look like?
Like, do you mean, like, how do I recover in that time or, like, how long of recovery time?
Maybe both.
Okay, so it takes me, I'd say, really 2 weeks to feel like I'm ready to go again, but definitely a minimum of a week, and in that time, I kind of get all those recovery tools out, and then I sleep as much as possible, and I eat as much of a healthy diet as possible to just give my body the the building blocks it needs to repair all those muscles that got taxed during the competition. But like my foam roller, like we were just talking about how great they
Yeah.
are, I definitely have that available. My lacrosse ball and my scraping kit are actually in my backpack that are sitting next to me, as well as my TINS unit. Because if I'm sitting to have a cup of coffee or something, I'll put those like little electrode pads on with my TINS unit to try to help my muscles relax instead of feeling so tight. I have compression boots that I wear, like the leg compression boots as well. I'll do those once or twice a day. And then just like hydrate, 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 creatine, high protein diet.
Nice. I like it. Very cool. So what keeps you motivated during, if you have any setbacks, what keeps you motivated? Just keep going?
Like at first the setbacks seemed life ending is I know that's dramatic, but whenever there's a change for me, whenever like I had to change my abilities, my big fear was if I don't keep doing stuff and doing it quickly, I might never get to do it again. And so there was a lot of fear associated with the drive to keep going. But, thankfully, once I got involved with, like, the adaptive sports community and started learning that there are different ways that I can meet my goals, they might look differently than what I originally perceived that path to be, but that I will be able to keep going in some manner to meet my goals as long as I'm willing to be creative and adaptive. And so now the setbacks are more of just like a communication to check back in and be like, "Wait, it clearly wasn't working whenever I tried to do whatever it was in that manner. So how do I regroup and, like, recalibrate and try this all again?"
Okay. Awesome. And so what was your most memorable event
Ooh, most memorable event,
or race, I guess?
there's been a lot, but, like, racing at the world triathlon level, it was probably my race in Yokohama, Japan. It was the first time I'd majorly left the country in 20 years. And I was racing with the best of the best. It was a World Triathlon Para Series event, which is a more difficult event to get into. And so I was racing with like, the best of the best athletes in the world. And I've been doing this during an Olympic qualifying period. So the stakes are so
Wow.
much higher than
Yeah.
a normal year. And I just remember looking around and seeing people from all of these different countries, like so happy and so excited to be there and like watching the waves come in as I'm putting my wetsuit on and everyone's like preparing their transition areas. And I was just like, I am here in this space right now. And it's
You have to
totally
take
different
so much
land. And
in, I feel
yeah,
like, the
I don't,
people, the events, the location.
yeah, I think it'll probably take me like the whole year to really process and file all that I've experienced in the last few months away, just
Yeah,
because it has been so
absolutely.
much in the
Right.
best way possible.
That's amazing. How do you prepare for international competitions?
So I'm still learning. I'll be totally honest. I've done 5 of them in the last couple months. I really haven't been competing that long compared to a lot of my competitors. But part of it, like with the physical, is just like, am I keeping my legs up as much as possible if I'm not using them intentionally to race? Am I eating foods that are going to support my body during the race and the time leading up to it? Or am I going to regret it afterwards because it's not going to give me the fuel that I need? And then just like, as far as the mental preparation, reminding myself to practice gratitude is a big part of it because,
Sure.
as anyone that lives an adaptive lifestyle knows, things aren't going to go to plan. Like, there's just always going to be that one thing here or there that goes differently. And by being grateful that I get to have the experience, it helps me stay more flexible and less attached to the outcome and instead, like, more aware of the present moment. So that's a really important mental mindset. And then the other part is just reminding myself that I get to do the thing that I've trained for, the thing that I have prepared
Right.
for, and that I just need to trust that the process that I've done all along is enough. And now it's the fun part where I get to go see what that preparation has created.
Right. Yeah, that's wonderful. So it's like you work so, so hard and then you finally get to put all that work
Yeah.
out there.
Like honestly,
So rewarding.
the training is more of the competition in my mind. Like who's training the smartest, who's training the hardest, who's training the best. And then when we have the actual races, when we have the actual events, it's a celebration of the effort of our training that we get to
Right.
display
Right.
with what we're
Absolutely.
capable of doing.
That's so exciting.
Yeah.
All right. I hate to cut you off, but we got to take a quick ad break and we will be right back with Rachel.
Life can present challenges, but the whole person believes in turning challenges into triumphs. Our staff is trained to provide compassionate, personalized care that enhances the lives of our consumers, enabling them to live independently and with dignity. The whole person believes in the power of human connection. Our staff extends their reach into vibrant communities, fostering connections and creating moments of joy for every consumer we serve. Whether that's through peer support groups, adaptive sports, employment services, or non-emergency medical transportation, our staff provides exceptional care and become trusted companions and confidants. Your donation will help us continue to expand our programs and services to help people with disabilities remain independent and living in their home. Consider giving a gift today. Thank you.
All right, welcome back to the whole podcast. Again, we have our guest Rachel here. So yeah, I've been dying to ask. Let's get into all these medals that
Okay.
you've brought in.
So those are the medals that I have managed to acquire at World Triathlon events this year. The first one that's closest to you is from the America's Triathlon Championships in Miami, Florida, back in March. That was where I got classified, which is the process of like determining what level of disability or different abilities an athlete has so that they can be placed with competitors that are similar matched to their
Sure.
ability levels.
Hmm.
So that happened in Miami, and that was kind of like what kicked off the rest of these. The next one is a silver medal from World Triathlon Paris Series Yokohama in Yokohama, Japan, that I did in May. And then we've got a gold here from Taranto, Italy. That was World Triathlon Para Cup Taranto at the start of June. The next weekend, I traveled to France to, and I never say this right, but it's Bessis France is the event that I received this bronze medal at. The following weekend, I went to Swansea, Wales for World Triathlon Para Series Swansea and received this bronze medal. And then the last weekend of June, I was in Montreal, Quebec at World Triathlon Para Series Montreal, and I received the silver medal there.
Wow. Wow. Congratulations. That's
Thank
so
you.
exciting. That's so cool. What was like your most favorite one? Do you have a favorite? Or I guess they're all so unique, I'm sure, to the experience.
They are definitely unique, and they had different challenges as far as like different climates. I mean, the first World Triathlon event, that's the green, ribbon there, that was in Italy. It was like 93 degrees whenever we were racing that day in Southern Italy, and, like, the current was against us that we were swimming into, so that
Oh,
was a really, really challenging, really humid, uncomfortable event.
yeah.
And then this one here from Swansea, it was like the opposite. I think the water was 62 degrees and the air was 60 degrees whenever we raced that day.
Wow.
So just, completely different experiences. But
Sure.
honestly, Swansea was probably my favorite. That's a really big event as far as like the quality of competition. It was a larger competition field and a really challenging bike course. Really, really challenging bike course. And I missed my goal time by, like, a minute due to, just, like, some unforeseen circumstances. They
Yeah.
always pop up in a triathlon race. I got kicked in the goggles, and I had to stop my swim to put my goggles back on twice.
Oh my
And then I
gosh.
took a wrong turn on the bike course, and so I feel like I have unfinished business that I left in Swansea that I'm really hopeful that there'll be a race there next year that I can go back and,
Yeah,
see what
absolutely.
I can do.
Awesome. So what happens in in that cold of water and environment? Are you still able to perform?
So I actually do better in the cold.
Okay.
MS historically, for a lot of persons with MS, like if you read anywhere, people with MS can't tolerate heat. I don't have significant heat intolerance, but my performance is definitely decreased in hot situations. And I've done a lot of like ice baths and cold showers to just be more prepared for cold exposure. So whenever I got in that water, I was like, yeah, my nerves are working well. Like, let's do this race. And I had a lot of fun with it. But it is a bit shocking. It takes some time. You gotta get in the water before the race starts so that you can get used to
Adjust.
that cold
Yeah.
and, like, yeah, control the breathing, control the heart rate, and be just really, like, mindful of, "Okay, this is what I'm here for. I'm safe. I have a wetsuit on. I'm gonna be just fine." And
Yeah.
then you go.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's so cool to learn, to know. So what you if you have any unique travel experiences or learning experience during all of this?
Um, Man, there's so much. Like, I just traveled for a month straight, and I wish I could just compress it all into a couple words to share it with everybody, but I
Sure, I'm
guess
sure that's hard. Do you journal a lot to like keep track of
I
everything?
do. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
working on writing a book right now,
That's amazing.
about just like, hey, MS seemed like it was gonna be this really terrible thing that happened in my life, but with the change in the mindset from what I originally had, and then, the realization that my future is whatever I wanna make it, I got to have fun with life instead of having it
Yeah.
be
It's like a whole
not
new
awesome.
world and
It really is.
experiences and like
Yep.
so much to learn.
But, I would say, like, as far as, like, the things that I've learned from travel, I guess the adaptive sports lifestyle where you say, "Okay, I want this to be the goal that I meet, but I'm not sure how I'm gonna get there." And so, like, you try different things. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it goes really, really wrong and you have to start again. It's so applicable to, like, everything in life. So, like, with travel, there's so many little things that went wrong. I could list for 10 minutes all of the stuff that, was unexpected that happened.
Right.
And it was instead like, how do I adapt to these situations? Because I can't change what's going on. I can't
Right.
change the
You
reality.
can just
So,
prepare yourself.
yep, like, how do I just keep going through this? And then the other thing that I learned is like the value and the power of just human interaction. I was in a situation in London where I had no cell phone and I was alone with my triathlon bike at like 11:30 at night at a subway station, and I had no idea how I was going to get back to my hotel because I couldn't figure out when a train time was gonna come because the subway had stuff down, and I ended up just, I don't know, like, having a conversation with a person who was sleeping in front of the bagel shop across the street, and that person gave me the charging brick that I needed to charge my cell phone so that I could figure out the rest of the steps, and
Wow.
it reminded me, like, how every person that I have the opportunity to encounter has so much value and
Yeah.
can bring so much to my world, and, yeah, it was just a really powerful experience.
Right. Oh, that's so cool. So what role has your support system played in this with your journey?
My support system is amazing. I probably would have given up a long time ago if it wasn't for them.
Right.
My family helps me balance the responsibilities of being a mom and being a nurse and training and racing internationally, with with like my kids and everything, and they help me just remember, like, hey, you came from a lot rougher place than where you're at right now. Like, let's just keep going. Let's not get stuck in this temporary setback.
I love
And
that.
then, like, also in the Casey Metro, I have this really great group that I cycle with called Wrestling MS. It is a cycling team for persons with MS, that's a nonprofit. It actually hooks the person with MS up with the bike that's appropriate for their ability level.
And that's here in
It's here in
KC?
Casey, yeah, it's a really
Wow.
cool group.
Okay, that's
We meet,
awesome.
like, once or twice a week to cycle at various locations. We've got, people that cycle on, like, hybrid bikes, e-bikes, um, recumbent bikes, trikes, um tandem bikes, like, and then, and I'm the weirdo that cycles on a triathlon bike. Nobody else really wants to go into that world, and I don't it's a different type of cycling, but, yeah, it's just such a cool group because that not only are they encouraging and they're understanding, and you don't have to explain, like, "Oh, this is what I've got going on with my nervous system today," because they just get it, but
Right.
they're just such cool humans in
Yeah.
general, so.
I bet it's really encouraging to one another too,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
helpful along your training, just to learn tips and tricks too
Yep.
from everyone.
Yeah.
So what did you mean, that your triathlon bike is different? So explain that for us.
So a triathlon bike it's a TT bike, like a time trial bike. You cycle in an aerodynamic position. So there's like an additional set of handlebars that you lean forward and down to cut back on like any wind drag. So instead of just like hopping on your bike and sitting upright and riding along, once you get on your bike and get going, you use your core strength to be like almost parallel with like any more parallel with the ground. I shouldn't say
Oh,
almost.
interesting. Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, so it's just like a little bit different balance, a little bit of an intimidating position to initially get in. But now that I use it, it's actually because I'm affected on my right. I have strength issues and control issues with my right arm and right hand. It's great because I can put my forearm in that armrest and then I don't have to worry about whether or not my right arm's going to drag me down as I'm sitting on the bike.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give to others to help with MS that would help pursue any goals they have?
Um, don't be afraid, first off. Like, it, there's always going to be a way for you to figure out how to reach that goal if you're not only not afraid to pursue it, but also to express to others what you are pursuing and express to others what your challenges are in the process. Because you'd be amazed at like what a simple conversation will do to find the person that knows about the right adaptive device or knows somebody who's got a connection with like whatever it is that you're looking for. Like, so really owning that reality of like, hey, I do have MS. And even though you can't really see the challenges that I have due to this disability, it is part of who I am. It's part of my life. And
Right.
like, I do require some extra support, some extra assistance to be able to keep pursuing my goals because of that reality. For a long time, I was really afraid to like let anybody know that I had it. I thought people would think something was wrong, like that I was less of a person because I had this like chronic invisible condition. And also, I was worried that people would think I was being like I was attention seeking if I would be honest about how much pain or difficulty I was experiencing. And so I kept it really, really hidden. And as a result, like it kept my world really small. But then once I was finally like, you know what, I'm going to own this. This is who I am. This is what I
Right.
experience every day.
Right.
I started having like such better connections with just like both people that I knew and then also like new acquaintances, strangers out in the world. And it has all helped me along my journey to get to where I am now.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know you've kind of went over how your perspective is on life now since your diagnosis. Is there anything else that you want to add to that?
So my catchphrase that I use to keep myself in check, and then like I'll ask my kids as well, is if things are feeling like really difficult or unattainable, overwhelming, and like I just can't do something. And some days it's that like neurologically I am so shut down that I cannot safely ambulate. And so I just want to lay in bed all day long because it hurts and it's uncomfortable. But I'm like, hey, that's not going to help me reach my goals and it's
Right.
gonna leave me exactly where I'm at right now. So I ask myself, what can you do? That started whenever I was like a week home from the hospital for my diagnosis. I was having a really hard time balancing, standing. I had like an infant and a toddler at home with me, and then my school age child was in school for the day. I had a sink full of dishes and fussy kids, and I'm like, I can't clean all of this up to be able to make lunch and handle it all. And so I just wanted to give up, but I couldn't give up. And I
Right.
was like, all right, well, if you can't do that, what can you do? And
Right.
so I made a deal with myself to do the small thing that I acknowledged that I could do. And then like it felt really good to complete that. And I got that little bit of dopamine that you get from,
Right.
like, all right, I've got a task that I want to accomplish. Now I'm going for it. And so then it was like, all right, well, if I did that, what can I do next? And what can I do next?
Right.
And so asking myself, what can you do helps me break a big task down into something small.
I
And
love
then
that.
like gives me the opportunity to celebrate whenever I meet each of those small steps instead
Right.
of being overwhelmed by the big task
You got to
ahead.
celebrate everything, I feel
Yes.
like.
Life is meant to be celebrated.
Yeah. It's not always easy. So, how can listeners follow your journey? Do you have social
Mhm.
media or
So I'm on Instagram.
okay.
My Instagram is at ms.rachel.watts. So RachelWatts. And I posted all my recent experiences with traveling and racing through Europe and Canada. I post updates on my training journey and then just life in general on my
Wonderful.
Instagram.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to follow you along and follow
Thanks.
your journey. Was there anything else that you wanted to add, or what is your next what's your next goal, your next triathlon?
So I'm really excited this weekend. Actually, I'm going to race the Shawnee Mission Tri in Shawnee Mission Park in Kansas. The race director, Katie Renner, is super awesome, and she has been making efforts to include like the physically challenged adaptive athlete category in all of her triathlon races that she is the director for. So I'm looking forward to doing that, like on the local scale. And then at this point, my focus is really on World Triathlon Para Championships. That's going to be in southern Spain the weekend of October 17th to 20th is the next race that
Okay.
I'm looking forward to.
Exciting. Well, good luck to you. And thank you so much for being with us today. It's such a great story you have. And I love your energy
Thanks.
and your positivity. Yeah, again, thanks again for being here with us today, Rachel.
Thank you for the invitation. It was an
Yeah,
awesome experience.
absolutely. All right. That's all the time we have for today. So we will see you next time. Be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on our channel. Have a good one. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast today. Just wanted to update you on the events coming up. Of course, as always, the bowling, third Wednesday of the month in KCK. We have our ADA celebration that we'll be having here at the Whole Person, and that will be July 26th. And you can go online for more information. And then also our Big Dill Classic Pickleball and Cornhole Tournament, and that is August 18th at the Chicken and Pickle in Overland Park. And to sign up, or if you're interested in a sponsorship, you can go to thewholeperson.org/thebigdill. Thanks again and see you next time.